Hello and welcome to the lunch edition of MBC News. I am Opidi Kaisa. Let's take a look at the stories making headlines. President Professor Mutharika reaffirms his commitment to strengthening fraternal bonds of friendship between Malawi and Scotland following his appointment as the co-honorary patron of the Scotland-Malawi Partnership. Ministry of Agriculture, Irrigation and Water Development to institute measures to recover outstanding loans issued under the Mega Farms Initiative. And Innovation Church Aid, Done Church Aid, launches an over 800 million kwacha climate justice project targeting vulnerable communities. And now the news in detail. President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika has reaffirmed his commitment to strengthening fraternal bonds of friendship that exist between the people of Malawi and Scotland. This follows Professor Mutharika's acceptance of his appointment as the co-honorary patron of the Scotland-Malawi Partnership. This will be the second time for the President to serve as the partnership's patron, which, according to Chief Secretary in the Office of the President and Cabinet OPC, Justin Saidi, is a reflection of the network's trust in the President's leadership. Scotland-Malawi Partnership is an international development network which was created to foster collaboration and friendship between the people of Scotland and Malawi. Vice President Dr. Jen Ansah has hailed Japan for supporting various development projects in the country, including agriculture, health and infrastructure. Dr. Ansah made the remarks on Wednesday afternoon when Japanese Ambassador to Malawi, Naito Yusushu, paid a courtesy call at her office. Austin Fukula reports.
The Vice President said Malawi is resolute in its efforts to attract more Japanese investment into the country. Dr. Ansah assured the ambassador that the government will ensure that Japanese companies currently operating in Malawi are able to function effectively, contributing both to their profitability and to the development of the two nations. Dr. Ansah also commended the government of Japan for its continued support towards the M1 road expansion and reconstruction project, particularly in strengthening the Nakala corridor. The Vice President noted that the Nakala corridor initiative, backed by Japanese commitment of $7 billion, presents transformative potential for regional trade and integration. In an interview, Japanese ambassador to Malawi, Naito Yasuchi, said it was an honor to pay a courtesy call on the Vice President and discuss bilateral relations in areas such as infrastructure, trade and health. Yasuchi said his country is keen to strengthen bilateral ties through business opportunities that will benefit both nations.
Recently, we had a business networking event, and surprisingly, 17 Japanese companies participated. And the area of interest seems to be infrastructure and also mining, and also a lot of impact business.
Malawi and Japanese diplomatic relations date back 62 years. Austin Fukule, MBC News, Lilongwe.
Minister of Agriculture, Irrigation and Water Development, Rosa Fachimbilizi, says government will institute measures to recover outstanding loans issued under the Mega Farms Initiative. Mbilizi made the remarks in Parliament when she presented a ministerial statement on the progress of the Mega Farms program and its future plans. Details in this report by Chinsisi Moyo.
Minister of Agriculture, Irrigation and Water Development, Rosa Fachimbilizi, described it as disheartening that the majority of beneficiaries have defaulted on loan repayments under the Mega Farms Initiative. Speaking in the House, the minister said most of those who obtained loans during the 2023-2025 farming seasons were not practicing farmers, but vendors who lacked collateral, a development, she said, contributed to lower repayment levels.
We have dates dating back to the 2023-2024 farming season, and that was due 31st December 2024. And we have the recent one for the past growing season, and the loans were due on 31st December 2025. And as you can see, we have a an amount of about 55.5 billion that has to be given back. So we are beyond giving days. Now it's a matter of enforcement, action, and legal undertakings.
The minister has, however, disclosed that the government will implement a refined mega farms model aimed at delivering meaningful and sustainable results.
We want to bring in big industrial farms that will anchor smallholder farmers. So we really want to change the landscape in as far as agriculture production is concerned. It will not only be about maize. We are looking at about 25,000 hectares by 2030, where we'll have big farms and they will be growing cash crops as well as food security crops.
The first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Victor Musowa, granted permission to the minister to disclose the names of individuals who benefited from loans under the Mega Farm initiative but failed to repay. Chinsisi Moyo, MBC News, Parliament Building, Lilongwe.
The Parliamentary Committee on Commissions, Statutory Corporations and State Enterprises has called for the urgent prioritization of governance and legal reforms to safeguard the National Economic Empowerment Fund, NEF, from political interference. Presenting the report in Parliament, Chairperson of the committee, Sylvester Ayuba James, said the committee established that NEF has deviated from its core mandate in the implementation of its loan programs. The report further reveals that some loans were disbursed by large-scale farmers and politically connected individuals on political grounds, which others allegedly issued as incentives for political support. Sylvester Ayuba James explains more in an interview with our reporter, Chinsisi Moyo.
We have made a number of recommendations. It ranges from operational issues to legal matters. For example, we also did discover that NEF was established by a presidential decree way back in 2005, I think when late President Bingu Mutharika had just declared that there would be a fund that would cater for those that are underprivileged, particularly in the villages, which was Malawi Rural Development Fund or something like that. And since then, it has remained under the office of the President and Cabinet, and there has been no proper legal document to establish NEF so that its mandate and the operational limits are properly defined. So we recommended that there should be a statute that establishes NEF as a corporate institution by government, and that statute should also define NEF's mandate and the kind of people that can get loans from NEF should also be properly stated. And we also recommended that the assets that were about to be disposed of should not be disposed of. There's no need to hurry with the disposal process.
The Ministry of Mining has disclosed that it is undertaking legal and regulatory reforms aimed at enabling the country to maximize its shareholding from its mineral resources. Minister of Energy and Mining, Jean Matanga, says government has currently suspended the issuance of mining-related licenses to allow for the completion and development of key regulatory reforms. Matanga adds that government will soon unveil a holistic framework designed to transform the country's mining sector into a key driver of economic growth. Details in this report.
Making a statement on the status of mining in the country, Minister of Energy and Mining, Jean Matanga, highlighted that Malawi is endowed with critical minerals essential for manufacturing technological products, and these minerals include titanium, uranium, rutile and graphite, among others. Matanga noted that the development of robust mining regulations will help the country derive greater benefits from the sector.
This is to do with the equity, to do with the shareholding of the proceeds from the mining. We feel there is room for us to improve that, because first and foremost, we should all know that the mineral resource that the country is holding belongs to all of us. It's a national asset. As such, there is great interest on the part of government to make sure that it benefits Malawians.
And Lilongwe's parliamentarian Sosin Gwengwe has, however, encouraged government to strengthen regulations guiding small-scale artisanal mining, saying this has the potential to boost government revenue.
The minister said there are almost 80 plus sites that people are doing the small-scale mining of gold, mostly alluvial gold, but it's being smuggled out illegally, and government is not really benefiting anything from that. And those that have done studies, they're estimating that close to 1 trillion Malawi kwacha is being lost through this illicit gold trading, I would say.
Among other corrective measures, government is also set to build the capacity of Malawi Mining Investment Company to help the institution conduct detailed exploration activities which may enhance the country's stake in mining deals. Trust Office, MBC News, Lilongwe.
The Malawi government says it is carefully considering joining 2 major international water agreements aimed at strengthening cooperation in the management of shared water resources. Deputy Minister of Agriculture, Irrigation and Water Development, Toko Tembo, made the remarks in Lilongwe during a 2-day workshop reviewing the country's possible accession to the 1992 United Nations Water Convention and the 1997 United Nations Watercourses Convention. Officials say the move could enhance regional cooperation, climate resilience and long-term water security. Emmanuel Chikonso reports.
Malawi shares several water borders with its neighbors, making cooperation critical for sustainable development. At the center of discussions is whether Malawi should accede the global conventions that provide a legal and institutional framework for managing transboundary water resources. The workshop, organized by the Ministry of Agriculture, Irrigation and Water Development, has brought together government officials, civil society, academia, and international partners. Deputy Minister Toko Tembo says Malawi is seeking to align its water governance systems with international standards while maintaining national ownership.
We are here to understand how they work, so that then we can decide on whether or not to join the transboundary agreement as well.
The United Nations Water Convention, originally adopted in 1992, promotes cooperation among states sharing water resources and supports sustainable development. Secretary to the convention, Sonja Kopel, says countries that are party to the agreement tend to demonstrate stronger cooperation mechanisms.
It's so important for the countries to cooperate over these shared waters to prevent conflicts and actually to gain benefits in terms of regional integration, in terms of sustainable development, in terms of environmental protection, but also energy production, etc.
Malawi's shared resources include Lake Malawi, underscoring the importance of regional collaboration. European Union Ambassador to Malawi, Daniel Aris Gatserumendi, says international water conventions are not only legal tools, but instruments for peace and economic growth, particularly in the face of climate change.
All over the world, you have 153 countries that actually share rivers, share lakes, etc. So it really is about how those countries that share those resources do it in the best possible way. How do they jointly manage those resources, extract the best out of them, avoid any type of conflict? And I think it's an instrument, or it's 2 instruments that have really proven their usefulness. So I can only encourage Malawi to also join.
Currently, there are 58 countries party to the United Nations Water Convention, with 14 from Africa, while about 20 other countries are considering accession. Government says the outcome of the consultations will inform its decision on whether to formally join the conventions. Emmanuel Chikonso, MBC News, Lilongwe.
You're watching MBC News. A reminder of our top stories. President Professor Mutharika reaffirms his commitment to strengthening fraternal bonds of friendship between Malawi and Scotland following his appointment as the co-honorary patron of the Scotland-Malawi Partnership. Ministry of Agriculture, Irrigation and Water Development to institute measures to recover outstanding loans issued under the Mega Farms Initiative. And Innovation Church Aid, Done Church Aid, launches an over 800 million kwacha climate justice project targeting vulnerable communities. Welcome back. Government says environmental protection must translate into action as Norwegian Church Aid Done Church Aid has launched a €410,000, approximately 800 million kwacha climate justice project targeting vulnerable communities. Officials say the initiative strengthens enforcement of environmental laws while giving communities a greater voice in climate decision-making. McDonald Chiwayura reports.
The 15-month project Voices for Climate Justice is funded by the Embassy of Ireland. It will be implemented nationally through the Centre for Environmental Policy and Advocacy, CEPA, and in Zomba and Mangochi through the Catholic Development Commission in Malawi, CADECOM. Director of Mines in the Ministry of Energy and Mining, Samuel Sakuta, said environmental safeguards remain compulsory before any extractive activity begins.
Before they started to take us to this level where they are launching this project, they came and we talked to the effect that we have to know what is it that they have seen as a gap, what is it that they want to really solve as a problem, because without us knowing what is the problem they want to address, it is also difficult to work together. So it is quite important that today we are together, we are taking this issue together so that in all areas they have earmarked as areas of their project implementation. We'll see to it that they are working hand in hand with the policies of the government.
Country Director for Norwegian Church-Aid and Dan Church-Aid, Stefan Jensen, said climate justice means ensuring vulnerable groups, particularly women, influence decisions that affect their lives.
We hope that with this launch of this particular important project funded by the Irish Embassy here in Lilongwe, we're going to foster debates trying to get justice on the climate front over the next 15 months. And we are hoping that together with our implementing partner, CEPA and CADECOM, we can really make a difference, not only on district, but also on national level, to have more nationwide conversations about the issue of climate justice moving forward.
The project will focus on Zomba and Mangochi districts facing environmental degradation and recurring climate shocks. Zomba District Commissioner Musandide Frederick Misinjo said protecting catchment areas such as Zomba Plateau is urgent.
15 months is enough because that one is almost 1.5 years. We believe we work together and it will assist Zomba citizens.
The initiative, valued at over 841 million kwacha, will run for 15 months. McDonald Chiwayura, MBC News, Lilongwe.
Department of Disaster Management Affairs has mobilized 149.7 billion in food aid for the 2025-2026 lean season food insecurity response program out of the 209.4 billion target. This is contained in a statement released by the department. Mercy Zamawa reports.
Following the devastating effects of prolonged dry spells, President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika declared a state of disaster and appealed for local and international support towards the affected people. Department of Disaster Management Affairs has been coordinating the provision of relief assistance and donations to the affected following the development and implementation of the 2025-2026 lean season food insecurity response program. In a statement released on Wednesday, already the department has managed to mobilize 149.7 billion kwacha from bilateral and multilateral organizations, humanitarian partners and companies. Meanwhile, spokesperson for DODMA, Chibililo Kamula, has thanked both international partners and local for coming to the rescue of Malawi.
Out of the total requirements of 209.4 billion kwacha, we have mobilized financial and in-kind resources amounting to 149.7 billion kwacha, and this is around $85.5 million US dollars. And this leaves a resource gap of 59.7 billion kwacha, which is around $34.1 million US dollars. We express our sincere appreciation to foreign governments, bilateral and multilateral organizations, humanitarian partners, companies. Of course, the list is endless for the donations which are significantly contributing to the effective implementation of the 2025-2026 lean season food insecurity response program.
Currently, there are growing calls from members of parliament for help for their constituents who have been affected by hunger. Mary says Amawa, MBC News, Blantyre.
Mangochi District Council has urged District Executive Committee members to be proactive in implementing project plans under the reformed Constituency Development Fund. District Commissioner for Mangochi, Rodney Simwaka, made the remarks during a District Executive Committee ordinary meeting organized to update council members on progress of the Constituency Development Fund, which government is set to disperse in all the constituencies across the country. Francis Panda has filed this report, read by Owen Mavula.
In readiness for the implementation of the reformed 5 billion kwacha Constituency Development Fund (CDF), District Commissioner for Mangochi, Rodney Simwaka, has challenged all council working committees to intensify preparations for the project fund. He was speaking in Mangochi during ordinary District Council Executive Committee meeting aimed to provide update on the CDF implementation, where 4 district development partners such as AMREF Africa, CADECOM and other organizations presented new projects which they are planning to roll out. According to the district commissioner, delays in the procurement of materials for projects, for example, is one of the major contributing factors that affect projects, and has since asked committees to draw project implementation roadmaps by March 2026.
Yes, we have a history of delayed implementation of projects that take time to be completed. So the discussion was how do we ensure that the implementation of projects is within the its project lifetime. So we felt that one of the many things that contribute to the delay in implementation is procurement. So we discussed that in our roadmap to ensure that the project is implemented in time, we will have to front the activities in the sense that let's start the procurement process now. Soon after the projects are confirmed, the BOQs are done, the costing is done, and we know how much it goes to which project, and then the processes start.
And in his remarks, Chairperson for Mangochi Civil Society Organizations, Joseph Chamambala, said the call is timely, and as civil society organizations, their duty will be to ensure that the project implementation process is duly followed.
True, the District Commissioner did submit to the fact that delays in the procurement of the project materials is one of the key elements that delays project implementation. And he did also mention that the CDF, the incoming CDF, is performance-based, and that will need to fast-track the procurement processes so that the people of Mangochi benefit from the CDF. And it is very imperative that those who are in the position, for example, in the procurement section, they should be able to understand the concept and be able to fast-track the procurement processes so that the people of Mangochi don't lose out from the monies that are going to come into the district.
Currently, Mangochi District Council is already working on the constituency development plans to ensure a smooth implementation of the CDF.
There has been a decrease in cases of abuse perpetrated against the elderly in Cholo. District authorities confirmed the development at an elderly open day in the area of Senior Chief Boidi. They attributed the development to a growing network of older persons organizations fighting for the elderly's rights. George Panda has the details.
Gogo Esnat Mairos from Samute village in Choro sharing her ordeal, which happened last year as some members of her family nearly killed her for allegedly practicing witchcraft following a death of a family member.
On that particular day, I was home and my relative was sick. And then we received the news that the person has passed on. While at my relative's house, I just saw people murmuring. And then we were told to leave the place, and some people started following us with panga knives.
Gogo Esnad Mairo's story is not an isolated case. Many other elderly people are facing similar stories which have tragically led to violence, banishment or death. Director of Community and Social Services for Choro, Feda Mbwana, noted a noticeable decrease in abuse cases against the elderly, crediting to a growing network of older persons organizations working in the district under Manepo.
We are so pleased with the development and with what Manepo has been doing so far. Manepo is one of the few NGOs that are implementing broad programs relating to the elderly. We have very few such NGOs in Choro, so with Manepo being there, we are so glad that they support us with such kind of initiatives. We have been carrying awareness campaigns whereby we really want to educate the community, more especially the youths, because most of these problems are being committed by youths. Like in this case where we're talking of this young boy who killed his grandmother. We are doing our best actually to make sure that the communities are aware of the importance of preventing such kind of abuse to the older person.
Technical Lead Programs Officer for Manepo, Goodwill Tunga, reaffirmed the organization's commitment to support and protecting the rights of older persons in the country.
Tidabweretsaji kulire pamodzi kudzera m'magulu otchedwa Older Persons Associations ndipo kudzera m'magulu amenewa amalimbikitsana pa nkhani zosiyana-siyana komanso kulimbikitsa chitetezo komanso maufulu anthu achikulire m'maderamo. Kupatula apo tidathandizako kuti ngati magulu akhale ndipo yambira tinapereka 1 million ku gulu lina lililonse ndipo ndalama zimenezo anachitira mabusiness osiyana-siyana monga munaonera ena ulimi wa tomato, ena ulimi wa kabichi, ena mbatatesi, ndipo zimenezi zikuthandizira kuti ngati gulu lachikulire lizitha kufikiranso zosowa za achikulire ena m'madera mwawo.
Through the Irish Aid and Help Age International, MANEP is implementing the Realizing the Rights of Older People through the Inclusive Social Protection for All, Accountability and Resilience Strengthening Role program in Choro and Balaka districts. Only if authorities and communities regard the elderly as treasures of the community, not as suspects, stories like that of Gogo Esnat Mairos can become tales of redemption rather than tragedy. George Banda, NBC News, Choro.
Well, that item concludes this edition of NBC News. A reminder of our top stories before we leave. President Professor Mutharika reaffirms his commitment to strengthening fraternal bonds of friendship between Malawi and Scotland following his appointment as the co-honorary patron of the Scotland-Malawi Partnership. Ministry of Agriculture, Irrigation and Water Development to institute measures to recover outstanding loans issued under the Mega Farms Initiative. And Innovation Church Aid, Done Church Aid, launches an over 800 million kwacha climate justice project targeting vulnerable communities. Keep up to date with our news coverage on our digital pages by scanning the QR code at the top right corner of your TV screen. You are with me, Upile Kaisa. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Magomera Community Development College is pleased to announce the